So in today's video, we're going to be sharing with you guys 5 ways we found to maximize the time that you have in your shop.
And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to thumbs it up down below. Let's get started. Starting off with number 1 is a really basic one, but one that helps us out a ton, is keeping our shop organized. That is having a spot for everything in the shop to go so you know exactly where it needs to be put away.
This is clearly one of the most basic things, and don't click off the video yet. We have some much more in-depth stuff if you already knew this one, but just having a space for your things to go makes such a big difference. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be clean and spotless. It just simply means that you have a dedicated spot where something goes at the end of the day or when you're done using it in the moment. It just helps you reduce all those times that you're looking for a pencil or your safety glasses or your tape measure or all the little things. That stuff adds up so quickly during the day. And if you just have a spot for all of them to be, worst case scenario, you can't find the one that you want, there's always a spot where there's probably a second one.
Yeah, and if you saw our shop tour video, you can see how we have our shop laid out and how we have multiple catch-all drawers, but we know what's in those drawers as well.
Yeah. So be sure to check that out. There's a link in the description below. But first things first, the fundamentals here is get your shop organized in a way, doesn't matter how big or small it is, just get it in a way that works best for you, where you know where things are at. Moving on to number 2, this one is borderline just psychological, but it makes a massive difference for a lot of people that try it out. And that is just cleaning your shop before you leave at the end of the night or before you get started. It makes such a big difference.
Yeah, we personally like to clean the shop when we're done at the end of the day, so that way we can come in the next morning and it's a fresh start.
Yep, and a lot of people actually do better cleaning it in the morning before they start, simply because it gives you this quick little win at the beginning of the day, which really gives you the motivation boost to continue and get started in the project that you're doing. Typically, if I'm not super thrilled about the project, then that method works better. But if we're just super into the project and there's just a mess getting in the way of doing the project, then vice versa. Cleaning at the end of the day will make sure the next day when you come to the shop, you're excited and happy to get started. And again, it's just this tiny little psychological thing. It doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't mean sweep to every single corner. It just means put the things away and make a space for you to be able to work the following day.
This doesn't mean wipe down all the tables. It's literally putting drills back on the shelf or drill bits back in their bin, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Especially just if you have parts laying out for a project, make sure they're stacked neatly in an area where you're not going to accidentally use the wrong part tomorrow or someone's gonna move them or think they're scraps or anything like that. That's such an important thing if you have people moving in and out of your space. It just speeds up the process and makes you a lot happier and more enthusiastic to be in the shop.
The next one is another little psychology?
Psychological?
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Psychological?
Oh, you got me all messed up now. Yeah, another psychological.
Okay. The next one is another small mental thing, but that is take time for lunch. This will give your brain time to rest, and also you need food, and if you don't eat now, you're gonna regret it later on in the day.
Also, just taking dedicated breaks throughout the day is super, super important. A good example of this is if you wait to eat your lunch until you're absolutely starving, then you're going to engorge yourself at lunch, and you're likely going to become slightly lazier and less likely to want to get back to work. So if you eat while you're still in work and you're not necessarily ready to stop, well, then you're excited and ready to get back to work. So it's really easy to grab something quickly and get right back to work without having that sort of moment where you sit back for a little bit, you start looking at YouTube on your phone, and next thing you know, you've wasted an hour and a half just going to lunch. And the same thing goes for other small little breaks throughout the day. So, we all have those little bitty things that we like to check on our phone throughout the day, and they take up so much of our time. And just having some time set aside to do that, whether that's 5 minutes or 15 minutes periodically through the day. I actually use an app for this, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the video, but basically just having time set aside to give yourself the opportunity to do these things will make you more likely not to do them whenever you're working.
And another little like side step to this tip, I guess, is I usually keep a water bottle in the shop while we're working, so that gives me time to go over there, get a sip of water, maybe look at my phone, and like just like a little break, you know what I mean?
It's super important. I highly recommend trying that out, like just having a little bit of a break for yourself scheduled into your workday, and just know that you can just do whatever you want during that time, and then you're gonna get back to work. We have come to the part of the video that is my favorite part, and that is software and apps. I am a massive productivity nerd, and I just like geeking out on making things as streamlined as possible. So this is one of my favorite sections. Personally, I think this deserves a whole separate video, so I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail about each individual one of these apps and things that we use, but there's links in the description below to each of them if you wanna check them out.
Yeah, if you're into technology, this is for you. If you're not, then...
Yeah, I think this is for everybody though.
Yeah.
I don't think that you should download everything that I'm about to say and just start overwhelming yourself, but maybe try some of these out. I think they'll help you out tremendously. So the first thing that we use all the time, which I know you guys have heard of, is SketchUp, as well as the companion to SketchUp, which is called Layout. And we use this to design all of our projects and create project plans. And that's just really handy to have, because I like to do everything before we get started as much as possible, so that we mess up fewer times. And that part of the project is just done and out of the way. We know exactly what materials to get. It just makes everything so much more streamlined.
Yeah, and that's another tip for like when you're in the shop, is having those plans in front of you, so you know exactly like what you're doing during the day.
The second app that I use all the time is called Todoist, and it is a sort of task building app. It's on iOS, Windows, and mobile devices too. I use it typically on my computer, but what I like to do is I like to create a morning routine on there. I don't typically build out large, massive amounts of things to do on there. I simply have a sort of like issue tracker, so things that come up with our customers and clients that I need to take care of. And then I also just have my straight up morning routine, which again, another massive productivity tip is to have a dedicated set thing that you do every single morning. So like if you are doing this as a business, then you likely have a lot of customer relations stuff to deal with. So emails and maybe even some marketing and different little things that you need to do on the computer. We'll do all of that stuff at one point in time during the day. I recommend the morning, and just have a set, already made to-do list that renews every single day, so you know exactly what you need to get done, so that you feel like you've done everything and you can get started with your day, and you're not looking back thinking about things constantly that you feel like you need to be doing. So the third app that we use all the time, and this is what has been saving grace for Molly and I to be able to efficiently work together and put tasks back and forth between one another.
And this is a kind of a new one for us.
Yeah, and we've tried so many different productivity apps, but the thing that we found recently that we like the most is called Notion. The reason why we like it is because you build it out to exactly what you need. That sounds complicated, but it's really not. You basically just pick and choose the little things that you want to show up, and we've sort of built out databases for our business that allows us to be able to refer to things really easily, but also be able to build out like future content that's coming out, any sort of customer relations stuff, just a whole load of different things that we can pass back and forth. We can even delegate it out to a contractor. There is a lot of benefit to having a product management tool, and Notion is the one that we've been using a lot.
Yeah, and it's better because usually we'll have to text each other like of something to do, and then that text gets lost. But this one, it's right there at the list. You have your name next to it, and you can get it done.
Yeah. If you're working with people, it is massive, because like Molly said, whenever we text something back and forth, it is implied that that person received it, understood it, and is working on it, but it doesn't always work out that way. Maybe that person forgot about it. Maybe that is just, you know, kind of lost in translation. And next thing you know, you have a task that just doesn't get done, and some person ends up getting upset on one side or the other because of that. And this just allows you to be able to manage tasks, check in with people, both people be able to work on it. It's massive.
And then you tick off the check mark when you're done, and you know that that task is completed.
Done. So the last app in this list of things that we think helps you in the shop is called Be Focused. Now we use so many apps here in the shop, so maybe we'll make a whole video about the rest of the stuff that we use, but this is the last one that really helps us here in the shop and as well on computers. And what it is it's just simply a timer. That's all it is. It's set to intervals that you set, and it tracks the time that you're currently using those intervals. So what I typically like to do is I work in 35-minute increments when I'm on the computer. So I'll work for 35 minutes, it gives me a 5-minute break, and then I'll work for 35 minutes more. Whenever we're in the shop, I'll typically do more like an hour and a half to 2 hours with like a 15-minute break in between those. And again, back to what we talked about earlier, it just works really, really well because you know, okay, I have to sit down and I have to work for 35 minutes. It doesn't matter if I don't want to, it doesn't matter if I haven't been able to get into it yet. 35 minutes, I'm gonna commit and we'll see what happens. And then at the end of that, I have 5 minutes to do whatever I want.
And it gives you a small goal to like get done. Like that's how I work whenever I run, especially, is like I need that goal, like I need to see the end, and this is kind of the same thing.
So it's just a super simple thing. You don't need the app. You could just use a timer on your phone or a physical timer, but this has made a world of difference. I personally like this app just because it tracks the time. You can put in the tasks that you're currently working on. So I kind of get like a spreadsheet of where I'm allocating my time currently and how long different things are taking, and it gives us a good idea of whether or not that's a good thing to do again in the future. Let's move on to the next thing.
And the final thing is having the right tool for the job.
This is a really, really big one. It doesn't mean going into debt. It doesn't mean making a poor financial decision. What it means is assessing what it is that you think might be a good investment for either your business or your hobby that will drastically increase the efficiency of your shop. Something as simple as a new table saw will drastically increase the quality and efficiency in your shop, whether you're just doing it as a hobby, like I said, or you're doing it as business. And so just taking those things into consideration whenever you're getting started and really thinking about where should I put my money and anything that I make, I guess, off of woodworking back into it, you know, what would be a good thing to invest in?
And this is gonna increase your income as well.
Yeah, if you're doing this for money, this is especially important. But even again, as a hobbyist, it is something to think about, because if you have limited amount of time to be able to do things, being able to speed up at the time in which it takes to do a task will, in theory, again, increase your efficiency, increase the time you have available in the shop, increase what you're able to do. And that is where today's sponsor comes in. Inventables is the sponsor of today's video. They create a really awesome budget-friendly CNC machine. You guys have seen us use it all over the place, and this is one of those things that can literally add a third person to your shop and definitely increase your efficiency. I'm sure many of y'all were waiting for this to come up because it's one of the best hacks, I guess, to getting a third person in your shop relatively inexpensively to be able to, well, I guess it'd be a second person for most people. It's a third person
for us.
It's a third person for us. But this thing has really just been a game changer for us. I mean, you guys saw us build the Lululemon store build out. I don't know that we did a great job of explaining how little time we actually had to build that. That machine ran for probably 12 to 15 hours a day for multiple days in a row.
For like 2 weeks.
And that is literally the only way we were able to do all of that project, was having a machine like that. If we didn't, I don't know that we would have made the deadline and been able to take the project. So that is one of those things where having the right tool for the job made all the difference. We'll leave links in the description below where you can check the X-Carve out if you're interested. Again, it's a lot more budget friendly than you might be thinking, and it is something that can genuinely add a lot of efficiency to anyone's shop.
That's gonna wrap up this video. Remember, all the links that we talked about in this video are down below, and while you're down there, go ahead and like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Be on the lookout in the next few weeks or so. We have 2 really cool projects that we're putting out.
Yep. 2 really cool projects. Wow, Dylan, you really botched that one. The next 2 projects we have coming out, we're really excited about. One will be coming out in probably 5 days? I don't know. Very soon. The next one will be the week after that, but they're gonna come out kind of relatively close to each other compared to normal. And we've just really been trying to get some things kind of wrapped up here in the shop and getting through the whole hurricane stuff. Just quick little update, we're fine with the hurricane now. The next hurricane didn't hit us, so we're good.
Goodness.
And yeah, that's gonna do it for the video. We will see you guys in a few days or weeks with a new video.
Wow, you Dylan, you really botched that one.
I'm terrible at this. All right, we'll see you guys later.